7 o'clock and time for our penultimate November meeting. I think it should have been the annual meeting, but as John Swale explained last month, why it's not the AGM. But welcome everyone to our Zoom meeting. I think most of you have been aware that we need your microphones off. But if at any time during the meeting that you do activate your mic, you'll appear on the screen. And just a reminder, if you don't know, this goes out onto YouTube. So if you speak and your charming face comes up, it could go out into the World Wide Web. I have a great ambition with this, that sitting at home in Los Angeles might be Mr. and Mrs. Spielberg. And Mr. Spielberg might be just happening to come across this recording and says to his wife, that chap that's speaking at the start, I think he'd make a great actor in my next movie. So we'll bring him over first class and interview him for our next movie. So I'm quite happy to be here and going out on YouTube. But that's my little thing. Tonight we've got a couple of speakers speaking on the Z-Wave protocol, which is in interoperable wireless Sub-1GHz RF-based communications technology designed specifically for control, monitoring and status reading applications in residential and light commercial environments. Mature, proven and broadly deployed with over 100 million products sold worldwide. Z-Wave is by far the world market leader in wireless control, bringing affordable, reliable and easy to use smart products to many millions of people in every aspect of daily life. And tonight our presenters are Jersey's Whiskey, I think I've got that wrong, I practiced it at the start of the meeting, and Miroslav Retic. They're co-founders and directors in Digital Home Systems Proprietary Limited. Jersey holds a master's degree in information technology and business administration and have over 25 years of experience in IT and management in electronics manufacturer, telecom, banking and utilities industries, working for ABB and IBM, among others. Miroslav holds master's degrees in engineering, postgraduate diploma in computer science, and over 30 years of experience in IT, manufacturing and shipping, working overseas and locally for CPA Australia, Norwich Union, Aviva, and ship management companies. Digital Home Systems, based in Melbourne, was the first Australian company to design, customise, certify and distribute Z-Wave products and systems in Australia and New Zealand. So gentlemen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Can you hear us well? Can you see us as well?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, we can't see you. Yep.
We have our camera on. 1 second. Well.
Is it on?
Well, we have, we can see us on the camera on the small window in the top. But that's okay. I'll start sharing screen in a second anyway.
We can see you.
Okay.
I can only see, I can see you and I can see Peter Bacon at the same time. Is that right?
That's fine. That's fine. We'll start like that, and we'll start to the slides anyway. So thank you very much for inviting us. My name is Jerzy Ziwicki, and Miroslav writing next to me. We're happy to present to PC user groups in Melbourne, the Z-Wave protocol. Oh, here we go. On the big screen now. So today's presentation is based on the slides we prepared, and I'll switch in a second to the PowerPoint. But want to warn you a little bit that presentation will be a little bit detailed. So we're not going to talk about usual sales copy in such technology level. So let's switch to the presentation itself. Can you see the presentation clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So the agenda of the meeting, we'll say a little bit about digital home systems to introduce you a little bit to what we're doing and who we are. And smart home solutions. So the ultimate goal, why would you use Z-Wave technology or similar technology? Then the main part will obviously take information about Z-Wave technology itself. And at the end of my presentation, I will provide you with quite practical now and here in Australia information about what components you can get here locally from various shops and places you can get this technology. So it will be a little bit of nutshell what you can get, what you can do with it. And after that, we'll be very happy to open questions and answer session. Any questions are welcome, obviously related to Z-Wave first. But between us, myself and Miroslav, I'm pretty sure we'll questions related. Agenda is okay. Peter, I have to ask you one thing. Do you see this screen clearly? There's any notifications popping up on the screen, or you can see presentation clearly?
I can see your presentation quite well, full screen.
Full
yes,
screen.
so can I. Full screen.
This company has been created by two of us, and now it's a mid-sized company located north part of Melbourne. We have been set up this company in 2009, so quite a lot of experience we gathered so far. We are specialists in specifically Z-Wave wireless technology, and also we added 2 years ago another smart home and open standard in building management, building automation, which is called KNX. We are a long-term member of Z-Wave Alliance, and I myself was a representative of Z-Wave Alliance for a few years in Australia and New Zealand. We are also OEM and ODM manufacturer of Z-Wave products with our own brand Z-Connect. We do offer not only Z-Wave products and KNX products, but also professional technical support, training programs, and knowledge transfer to our partners installers. We also offer a referral program to all those businesses who decided to join our network of partners to further distribute or install these products in all states of Australia, New Zealand, and partially in the Pacific area. This is all about us. Now let's focus on the main purpose of this presentation. What is, well, Z-Wave technology is a part of modern smart home technologies, the building blocks to create your home smart. This is very, very modern, fashionable term, smart home. But what it is actually, not everyone actually are fully familiar. So that's why I put this few slides to explain it in a better way. Smart home is a home which actually is interactive, where you as a homeowner, you can actually control different functions of your home, and also home equipped with a variety of different sensors can provide you a feedback. But the most important part is that smart home is actually a home which performs ideally actions on your behalf, on the owner's behalf, in the smart way. So whenever there is any risk or any situation which you would normally step in, like water leak, or for example, a necessity to switch off some unwanted lights or turn them on, or change shades to closed or open depending on temperature outside, inside. This is what normally smart home should perform for you. Okay, so there is a solid element of automation in the smart home. Now, where Z-Wave fits. Z-Wave offers you as a technology, which I explain you later. Z-Wave actually is a very home in either small part or in a small application of a smart home, like let's say smart lighting only or smart heating, cooling, or offers you ability to automate the whole home. Z-Wave being wireless allows you for easy retrofit and easy extensions. It's make start with a small subset of functions or small subset of smart lights, and you can grow as you go. There's no need to do it everything at once like you usually had before with all those classic wired solutions. Z-Wave is secure and it provides a choice of a variety of different devices from many different manufacturers. So it's a future-proof investment for you in terms of obviously investing in smart home solutions. So what kind of solutions you can build? Well, any, to be honest, but there are some obviously the most popular from our perspective. We know what are those most popular solutions people installing in their homes. Smart can use switching and dimming and automate your lighting with motion detectors, door window detectors, timers, anything which makes actually sense to do. And you can operate your lights manual way like you would normally do, just clicking the button on the wall. But also you can remotely operate using smartphones, using handheld remotes. You can operate by voice. You can turning on or off with different level of luminosity, like different level of dimming on different lights. You can set up specific scenes where the lights are turning on and off depending on the movement in your house, etc., etc. So very, very kind of a useful automation at home. Equipped with a module, in this case Z-Wave module, which allows you first of all to open and close the window, open and close door, not being at home. Imagine a situation where you're not at home and to visit you and you want to let them in, you just pull out your phone, press the button, and the doors are opening for them. Alternatively, another useful option is where you have a summer house, holiday house, and you're renting it out. Rather than leaving the key in the meter box like we used to do before, you can just set up the PIN code, being at home, far from your summer house. For this particular weekend, particular day, or give cleaners also the special PIN code to get and open the door on a particular day's particular time. Another useful one. There's plenty of other popular solutions. Just to mention a few: window automation, opening, closing, blinds, climate control, heating, cooling, setting up this split systems or central ducted, security and cameras, energy metering actuators, audio video control, garage door openers. So if there will be any specific questions, I'm happy to take and tell you more on them during questions and answer sessions. Intercom, doorbells, appliance automation, water leak preventions and irrigation. So this is just to name those most popular ones. Or from one interface on your smartphone, tablet, or voice control. Now, let's get to Z-Wave. I'll present a short 3-minute movie which should explain in a nutshell what is actually Z-Wave technology. So stay tuned.
Z-Wave is the standard for smart home IoT products because it delivers plug-and-play capability, robust and reliable trusted brands, industry-leading security, and development tools for creating smart home products that consumers need and want. With over 10 years experience and laser focused on the home, Z-Wave is the only technology in the market that mandates application level interoperability that's backward compatible, ensuring brand A will always be able to control brand B, including our first devices from over 10 years ago. Z-Wave's mesh network delivers low latency and unparalleled reliability with open air line of sight range of over 100 meters and a minimum indoor range of 40 meters with less than 5% packet loss required for certification. The mesh network enables messages to jump up to 4 hops, resulting in a usable range of about 200 meters, 600 feet, sufficient for the typical home. Operating in the sub-gigahertz frequency band, Z-Wave's network totally avoids the congested 2.4 gigahertz frequency band, which houses other technologies, making it less prone to interference. Battery life and long-term reliability are critical aspects of devices like sensors and door locks. Z-Wave offers the unique FLIRS technology, enabling devices such as door locks and thermostats to be battery-driven, while other devices can control them with less than 1 second latency. Other technologies require several seconds for control of battery-driven devices, with workarounds that have a significant impact on battery life. Z-Wave offers controllers an install and maintenance toolbox called IMA, enabling installers to assess network health when completing an installation, and enabling remote help desk fault finding, avoiding truck rolls. Our industry standard security allows leading brands to control devices such as door locks securely without risk of a breach. Finally, Z-Wave requires certification to ensure interoperability regardless of brand, application, or device type, which means your product immediately becomes a seamless part of the Z-Wave ecosystem.
Well, so with this said, probably topic is very clear. We can go with another topic in the agenda, and our meeting is presentation is finished. However, not to rush that fast, I would like to emphasize on a few features of Z-Wave. So just to explain a little bit more why Z-Wave is a leading technology in a smart home worldwide nowadays. First of all, to emphasize what it is, Z-Wave is a low-powered and wireless communication technology that supports mesh networks. So low power and we'll get on the next slides. Start with wireless. Z-Wave is wireless, but not Wi-Fi. It's not Bluetooth. It's not Wi-Fi. It operates in sub-gigahertz frequency. It's specifically in a spectrum which is called ISM, Industrial, Scientific, and Medical. It's a license-free for low-powered devices. And in Australia, which is governed by ACMA, this spectrum license-free to be used is between 915 and 928 megahertz. In Australia specifically, we're using Z-Wave in 921 megahertz. To compare, in Europe we have 868 megahertz and in US 908. So just be careful. If you will be using Z-Wave products in the future, don't mix them. They won't work if they are in different frequencies. So stay with Australian version Z-Wave devices. Well, to add more, Z-Wave as a technology has been designed specifically to for application to control, monitor, and status reading in residential and light commercial environments. So it's a perfect fit. Implements Z-Wave on, let's say, nuclear power plants, because this is not actually the best place to use Z-Wave. Stay with your homes, and there will be a safe use. Z-Wave was already used in was sold with over 1 million products worldwide. And so it's really popular, particularly in the US, in Europe, in Australia is it's an open standard, which number you can see on the right-hand side of the slide. It was ratified, standard was ratified by International Telecommunication Union in 2012. Well, Z-Wave is not a new thing. It was designed in Copenhagen in Denmark, Europe, by a company called Zensis 1999. Okay, so it's more than 20 years on the market. And made it quite popular worldwide, starting with US market. And the latest news is in 2018, just 2 years ago, Silicon Labs, which you probably had, a massive American public company specializing in electronics, chips, solution on the chips, this kind of electronics from Silicon Valley. They bought the whole Sigma Designs and even further. Well, I mentioned you before that it's such thing like Z-Wave Alliance. This is a consortium of companies who are producing and distributing Z-Wave worldwide. At this point of time, there's more than 700 members, and the Z-Wave Alliance became recently standard definition organization, so allowing all companies all over the world actually to contribute to the standard. Waves becoming open standard to all manufacturers. You can find quite a lot of big names among those members. Putting aside those names we may know, Assa Abloy, or Nortec, or LG, or Samsung, ADT, you know, and we can name more. Quick history on.
Excuse me.
5 was the first series of commercial Z-Wave chips.
Jersey, just
Yes.
you are actually dropping out quite a lot. I'm wondering if it's positioning of the microphone or something, perhaps.
Okay. I may
that's
actually
better. Yeah.
switch off on external. Thank you. Thank you. I think it will be a problem if I switch on that microphone.
Okay, I'll interrupt you again if it goes off. And what I'm going to do just now is mute everybody so that you'll need to unmute. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue then. So the quick history from the chip, or the base core element of technology, which is called a module or Z-Wave chip. This is the one unified hardware with firmware built into it, which is common to all Z-Wave devices all over the world. So the history was started around 2000, 2001, the first series of commercial devices. The series, a popular module was the 3000 series, and currently we are at the series 700. It is a little bit important from the functionality and also the marking, which you can see on the Z-Wave products. But the most important thing is that the latest version of chip 700 of Z-Wave, from strictly hardware perspective, offers you benefits or features which are not available in any other technology. So to give you just a couple of ideas, the wireless devices of Z-Wave on the latest chip 700 transmit from point to point to a minimum 100 meters. They repeat the signal with 4 hops, being a mesh network. So that gives you almost 400 or over 400 meters in each direction in open space without obstacles. Also, the battery level for all those battery operating devices, which I'll be talking later, the Z-Wave chip 700 offers you 10 years plus life on the coin-size battery for a simple sensors like motion sensor, for example. So this is the ultimate answer to the question, should I use the wired sensors or battery-operated sensors? 10 years on the coin-size battery for the motion is just a ultimate answer. Yes, you can. So I just wanted to touch now base with a few distinctive features of Z-Wave. So just to answer you in more details to the questions, why Z-Wave became so popular in smart home? I will start with the mesh network. So mesh network is, if you may know, is a network topology where the nodes of the network repeat the signal. So it's like a mini internet, but at your home. The same like in the internet, different routes dynamically are found out by routers. And you could switch off few nodes, few internet routers, and signal will still go if there is an available path at all to your recipient. The same thing is with mesh network, Z-Wave mesh network. So with a few limitations. Limitations is the hop, the signal is being repeated up to 4 times to provide the fast enough response for your control systems. And also another limitation is only constantly powered devices repeat signal, because this is actually where the energy is being lost. Battery operated devices don't repeat the signal, but all those devices which are constantly powered repeat signal. Size of the mesh network of Z-Wave is up to 232 physical devices. So it's more than enough for pretty much any home you would like to automate. Another key differentiator from Z-Wave from different other technologies, interoperability. And this is probably the most important differentiator. Imagine this, there is quite a lot of technologies out there on the market. You're all using Wi-Fi devices, you're all using Bluetooth devices, Zigbee devices, some of them may use. How it works is they obviously send the signal between them and the transmitter send the control signal, repeater repeats, and recipient actually does something if it's an actuator. But the whole point is you need to have an ecosystem of all those devices you want to have at home which speak the same language. When the devices which are interoperable, devices from different manufacturers, devices running different functions in your house, they should understand each other, right? So that's the whole point in the interoperability, that you have devices of different types from different manufacturers in the same installations, and they all talk immediately the same language. And this is, believe or not, this is not actually obvious. And a part of, well, Z-Wave is extremely good in this interoperability, but all other technologies like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, they're not. That's why you have so many different applications on your smartphones. One for lights, one for heating, one for garage, one for something, because they are all proprietary languages, proprietary systems, subsystems. They're not integrated much. Z-Wave is different. Z-Wave requires all those Z-Wave devices to speak the same language. And I'll explain on a few slides how it actually operates. Z-Wave operates this way, that you have a controller, handheld controller or central hub, home hub, which speaks Z-Wave language with all those actuators like switches, dimmers, thermostat, smart locks. However, to be very crystal clear, some devices doesn't allow of functions which you may need or don't need on some particular type of devices. For example, for smart locks, it's not really necessary to be operated by handheld remotes. That will be actually a little bit too much of, I would say, automation from security perspective to allow, usual handheld remotes used for TV to actually open and close door. But for your convenience, lights and thermostats, absolutely yes. So with these kind of limitations, logical, Z-Wave offers enormous interoperability, and it's actually implemented on the command classes. Sorry if it's a little bit too detailed, but at least give you understanding why is it so. Why Z-Wave is interoperable? Because Z-Wave is based on the language, let's call it this way, created based on command classes, software command classes, which I shared exactly the same way among all Z-Wave devices. They are mandatory command classes and optional command classes. So just to give you an idea, what are they? For example, when you have a lock, the lock must have a command class door lock and must have a command class door lock lodging and also user codes, and may have as an optional scheduling. Similar thing will be on the controller. Controller has to have as many as possible functions being command classes implemented, but not necessarily all of them. For example, in this case, gateway must do door lock function, door lock lodging and user codes, but not necessarily a scheduling. Scheduling can be just implemented locally on the lock. So I'm saying all these that to give you an idea that all Z-Wave devices, they share two things. The physical hardware being a Z-Wave chip, which is the physical method of transmitting signals, and also the firmware with the common classes where the language of communication and controlling is actually shared between all those devices. These are common between all Z-Wave devices. It doesn't matter if they are locks and if they are switches, sensors, roller shutters, garage door openers, and from what manufacturer they're coming from. So that's the big distinctive feature. Another one, very popular nowadays, people want to feel safe and secure. Z-Wave has a very, very strong security feature. It's based on similar encryption based on 128-bit AES encryption method. In its latest version S2 of Z-Wave security, is using elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman method. It's enough to say that the strongest certification organizations, like for example UL in US, certified Z-Wave with S2 security framework on the same level as a professional security systems, wired security systems. So in principle, it's unbreakable. I know it sounds a little bit a lot, but physically it's really much cheaper to actually break traditional method to your house, grab the brick, break the glass and get in, rather than spend thousands and thousands on the equipment and spend days and days to try find a moment to hack it. So it pretty much not possible. However, from the more practical perspective, you could have a question. All right, I'll buy a Z-Wave gateway, which we'll get later on which models you may find. But I have a Z-Wave gateway. I bought it from the market, and my neighbor next door also has exactly the same brand Z-Wave gateway. question is, can he control my switches and thermostat, or vice versa? Can I control his? And the answer is obviously not. It's not because Z-Wave has a addressing pattern, very similar to internet, however much simplified. Rather than 4 pieces of IP address, Z-Wave has 2 part of Z-Wave address. It's a home ID and node ID. So different gateways has a different home ID, and because of that, the networks are separated, isolated. You can't control your neighbors and Z-Wave installation, and your neighbor can't control your smart home. So maybe that's enough for the security here. Just to emphasize that Z-Wave is using, just to give you a kind of metaphor, it's using the same method as you normally use on your online banking systems. So it's really, really safe to use. Another distinctive feature is the certification. We're talking about interoperability, but interoperability must be obviously reinforced so that all manufacturers are using the same hardware and the same software, the same language. And this is actually achieved by certification, which is very thorough in Z-Wave Alliance. And devices which display these logos, Z-Wave or Z-Wave Plus, guarantee that they will talk to your other Z-Wave devices. Okay, and I emphasize that this is not the case with Wi-Fi devices. This is not the case with Bluetooth devices. They just all speak proprietary application level, vendor level language. In Z-Wave, it's all the same. Now, one of the last distinctive features, power consumption. Well, if you would like to use battery-operated devices in your smart home, you have to ensure that this battery are not dead, let's say, in next few days. Wi-Fi is definitely not the goal. Wi-Fi devices will definitely finish your battery, whatever you put battery in, within a couple of days, maximum few weeks. Transmission of radio frequency signal costs quite a lot of energy. Well, it's a milliamperes, but over the time takes much more than any battery actually can hold. Z-Wave, as I mentioned you before, can survive up to more than 10 years on one battery. Why is it possible? The reason for that is the battery devices in Z-Wave, they don't transmit non-stop. These devices like motion sensors, door window sensors, logs, and other battery-operated devices, there's a variety of sensors, for example, in a Z-Wave range. They don't talk, they don't transmit. They just what we call sleep. They are in the sleep state, and they transmit only when they are requested for, or if the action is happening on them, they have to wake up and send the signal to the gateway, or when the wake up period comes, they wake up and ask gateway if there is something for them. So this is the method, the magic, which makes Z-Wave devices actually very, very long on their batteries. But okay, you would say, what about devices which you can't wait for the wake up for the long? For example, thermostat, or for example, siren, or for example, lock. You don't want to press the button on your smartphone or allow your automation to open the lock and then wait till lock is waking up, let's say in 30 minutes or so. So because of that, in Z-Wave, you have also a special category of battery-operated devices, which is called frequently listening routing slave. It sounds really technical, but in principle, what it is another version of Z-Wave devices, which they wake up every half a second for very, very tiny bit, 10 milliseconds, to check if there is any commands going to them. And because of that, Z-Wave smart locks, like for example the one we have here behind me, or if you can see, there's a yellow locks, very popular in Australia, very solid and good quality. You have found on the battery, usually they survive longer than a year, up to 2 years. Yes, up to 2 years, depending on how many features, extra features you have on them. So this is pretty good lifetime for a battery. Just to reiterate, Z-Wave is an open standard. There is a community of companies contributing to this standard. The standard is published to the independent developers from big, small, medium companies who are contributing to produce new products, new software, advancements of Z-Wave. So it's definitely much safer to invest in Z-Wave rather than the specific proprietary technologies, which may be fine now, but in 5 years, who knows? Maybe not. That was, in principle, all about Z-Wave technology from technology perspective, what I wanted to share with you. But now you can ask the question, all right, you convinced me a little bit that it may be interesting to play with this technology, where I should start and what kind of products I could choose from. So the starting point is a gateway, Z-Wave gateway. It's different names. You sometimes may hear home hub or central hub or gateway. All leads more or less to the same kind of idea, that there is a central device which talks to all those Z-Wave devices, actuators like switches, dimmers, roller shutters, garage door openers, or sensors like light sensors, motion sensor, door window sensor, humidity sensor, you name it, and automate and provide the user with interface on the smartphone, on the tablet, on the voice, on the different key fobs and whatever you may have. So here I presented you three, in our opinion, the best options if you like to buy something which is ready to go. You don't want to spend time and program and create yourself things. You just buy, install, start connecting and using it. The brand Fibaro is definitely a good option. Vera is absolutely fantastic option. Particularly, it's really not expensive. It's, to give you an idea, $119 costs this Vera Edge gateway. So it's really easy to start. And ComfortClick is a range of gateways which are more for high-end residential and commercial, because they combine not only Z-Wave but also pretty much all useful in home automation or building automation technologies. So it's a one in all. You can do hotels and offices, and Parliament House is done in the technology called KNX, which is part of this solution. So this is the starting point. If you would like to go easy way, just get the gateway and start playing with it. If you are more hobbyist type or do-it-yourself person, you can take on one of those open software Z-Wave gateways, like OpenHub, Open Z-Wave, or Z-Wave Me from German company Z-Wave Me. And you can install it on your computer, on your PC, like in your club, and you can start playing with Z-Wave. You obviously need to have a dongle, a physical interface, and this physical interface is what we call Z-Wave USB dongle. So you plug into your PC in your USB port this dongle, and with this software, you create a controller similar to what you had on the previous slide. But obviously, it takes a little bit of expertise, and you have to obviously know what you're doing. But it's a lot of fun. Definitely, I encourage you also to try if you want. Alternatively, some of you probably heard about Zuno or Arduino. This type of electronics are like Lego blocks. You create them together, and on a PC you create a software to make different things out of electronics given. You can buy them from radio parts, not JB Hi-Fi. It's another one. J-Car. J-Car. You can buy from J-Car. So what we do have for you through our resellers, we have a Z-Wave Z-Uno board. So it's not like a central part which you can combine with your Zuno or Arduino projects. Another option for do-it-yourself is a Z-Wave Raspberry card. If you are passionate about Raspberry Pi computers, we have the daughter card, which you plug into your Raspberry card, and just play with a software controller on top of it. Now, once you have the controller, then there's plenty of options which Z-Wave device, from what brand, what function. I just provided you here a slide with just a few available in Australia. And what you can see here, there are motion sensors, switches, dimmers, garage door openers, door window sensors. You have buttons, key fob, roller, SIMS controllers, window openers, thermostats, water openers, IP cameras. They're not Z-Wave, but you integrate with those previous solutions as well. Sirens, security smart locks. So in principle, you can do, if not everything, almost everything automated in your home, whatever makes sense. I'm not suggesting to do everything, it's just whatever makes sense, it's definitely possible to do with Z-Wave. And keep in mind, it's like a Lego blocks, like a start. You start from a small thing and you grow in the direction you want, and you can add another Lego Z-Wave block, so let's call it this way, whenever you feel it's appropriate. So with all this, I would like to thank you for your for listening to me for this part, and I'm happy to take on the questions.
Thank you very much for that. For those that would like to ask a question, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat button. If you click on that, it'll come up on the right-hand side, and there down the bottom, you can type your question in. And Rob Brown is going to be the moderator of asking the gentleman any questions. So I think that might be the best way. If you just type your question in, click on chat down the bottom, type your question in, Rob can see it. We can all see it if we click on the chat button, and we can get the gentleman to answer the questions. So Rob, over to you if you want to take over.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Peter. And thank you to Jerzy and Miroslav for a really, really interesting presentation. I think you've tackled a fairly technical topic and hit it at the right level for this audience. So, excuse me, we'll be quite interested in some of the technical details that you've gone into, and you've covered the full range and spectrum of what Z-Wave application is really, really well. I think I'm speaking from the point of view of a user of Z-Wave for the last 5 years or so in my home automation system. Not sure how many others in the MelbPC group and those here today are also users of Z-Wave, but we might find that out in the course of the next little while. As Peter has mentioned, we'll probably try and, we've got nearly over 90 people in our meeting today, so we'll take the questions through the chat is probably the easiest way, but we do have the facility to raise a hand. If we have too many questions, we probably won't try and take it that way. But I had a couple of questions to kick things off while maybe people are putting questions into the chat. I guess Z-Wave was developed in, as you say, in Denmark and developed from there. So I guess Europe would have been the popularity centre for Z-Wave for a period, and it's grown from there. How has that transpired, and where are the current strengths for growth in countries across the world?
Yes, on one of the slides I was showing the history of Z-Wave. So you're very right, it was Denmark, a group who developed the Z-Wave, but very soon public company, American company bought the whole Zensis, and from that is a start of really big promotion of Z-Wave in North America, and from that all over the places. So this point of time, you really find it hard not to find Z-Wave on a particular continent. All continents using Z-Wave. US is very strong. Just to give you an idea, 90% of our North American security companies are using Z-Wave because it's open and standardized and interoperable and also very secure.
I noticed, Jerzy, that you mentioned that you don't need to do an installation all at once. You don't have to tackle the whole house. You can put make a small start and start with the controller and 1 or 2 devices, and then grow it from there as your needs change and your needs grow. So I guess that will work in well for a lot of people in MelbPC, because I think there's quite a number of DIY sort of people out there liking to do it themselves, and so they can start off small. And I think you know, the ZUNO and the Raspberry Pi option and the possibility of having the Z-Wave controller as a USB device provides good opportunities for people thinking that way. The Raspberry daughter card that you mentioned, do you have, I think there's a fair bit of interest in that amongst the people here tonight. Can you give us some idea of the cost of that device, and what sort of, is it widely compatible with Raspberry Pi products generally?
I will answer this question. You can use this card with the generation 3, starts from 3, right? Raspberry Pi, and we're expecting a new card because the current card it's with the chip 500 Z-Wave. Around January, February, we should get new generation. It will be based on the chip 700, which is much better performing in Z-Wave range. So it's up to 100 meters radius. Cost of the card below $100. I think it's around like retail around 70.
No, around 100.
Around 100, yeah, around 100, yeah, including GST.
That's right.
Yeah, including GST. So they're available, and then next year will be even more modern cards. Yeah, a lot of hobbyists buying them specifically to build something on their own. And they're buying Zuna board as well, because Zuna board, it's a kind of plug-in device. You can attach to the Zuna any kind of sensors and any kind of electronic device and program it specifically with the Arduino code. So unfortunately in Australia, I wouldn't say it's a big population of the hobbyists comparing with Europe. In Europe, at times more, because we know the data from the manufacturer, yeah.
Okay, and the Raspberry daughter card can be used on a Raspberry Pi 2 and the current Raspberry Pi 4 and so on?
Starts from 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
From Raspberry.
Manufacturer said it's
from 3.
From 3, yeah.
3 and 4, yeah.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
3 plus 4.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Jerzy, I might just ask you if you could take the screen share off just at the moment so we can see the full range of the audience, in case people are waving their hands. But
yep.
Yeah, we'll continue to take questions. I guess as a user too, I've been keenly aware of the Australian frequency issue, and I'd share to the rest of our audience that if people are shopping for Z-Wave devices in eBay or Amazon in particular, that they do need to be quite particularly careful to select the Australian frequency for those devices.
That's right, and that's the first. Second, it's illegal to use other frequencies because ACMA looking for some people who are breaking the law and trying to find them. Because spectrum is different in Australia comparing with the rest of the world.
Specifically, Europeans frequency 868 megahertz is actually used apparently by some even military systems. So it's definitely not a great idea.
Not a great idea.
There's usually good reasons for those regulations to be in place, and the frequency spectrums are probably one of the more complicated ones. So it is best if people comply with those requirements.
There's one really great reason why Z-Wave is sub-gigahertz, and this reason is there's nothing in our homes which are transmitting in this frequency. So Z-Wave is immune to impacts on Z-Wave or Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or anything.
There is no interference.
There's no interference. Imagine you're running your house on a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth using 2.4 gigahertz, and your neighbors, your children, whoever in your house is pumping, streaming all these 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies, medias. And imagine, it's inevitable. It's only one visual, but one bus. If the bus is congested, your control signal won't go. Your control signal will be stopped, and you don't want it. You want to have always your lights turned on and off, and heating and garage door opening without any problems. So that's why professionals choose sub-gigahertz.
Yeah, we've been experiencing situations on an expo in Melbourne, particularly. We have on the floor around 150 presenters, and they have big problems with the Wi-Fi for internet, for Bluetooth, for everything else, but Z-Wave was working. Because totally different frequency.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question related to frequency before I take a question from the audience. We have Michael Kent has his hand up, but just on frequencies before Michael pops his question in, can the USA or European devices be converted to Australian frequencies? As far as I understand it, it's embedded in a hardware chip. There's no scope in the future for that to become E² PROM or some such thing, is it, that it could be configured?
The 700 was, they've been planning to have a switch within the firmware, but it didn't happen because still you need to have a different antenna. So, and it's different antenna costs more than just create another chip. So they're thinking about it just to have only one generic chip with the switch inside, but it's not ready yet.
Okay, I see. So
maybe
people
next 3-5 years.
There are some products which they do use. The whole thing is on a hardware level related to the filters of the frequency.
For transmitter, yeah.
For transmitter, and then depending on the implementation of your product, you may have product which allows you to switch frequencies, but most of the manufacturers, they just use a version for Australia, version for Europe, version for America, and so it's not that. For example, this Raspberry card allows you to switch frequency, software way.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a method for that, but not all devices you would be able to switch.
You need to have multiple hardware on the same PCB to switch between, and crystals and antennas. Quite complex product at the end. So some of the manufacturers, they do, but most of them are trying to choose a way to create device.
So stay with Australian version. There is plenty of good retailers out there, online retailers and physical retailers. Like you have radio parts, you have the AWM, you have TLE.
You'll find everywhere, even on the Corben platform, you'll find they're selling our devices.
So it's really easy to get them. But if one of your members is actually operating in this industry, smart home, electrical, audio video installation, security system installations, well, we're welcome to open account for them, but it's strictly for businesses and for resellers. So, but it's plenty good resellers out there to offer you Australian legal certified products.
Very good. Thank you for that information. I might ask Michael Kent if he'd like to unmute and he can pose his question to our gentleman.
I presume that you've got if you've got inbuilt devices such as a roller door or something, existing devices built into the house, is there retrofit receivers that you can fit to these existing devices to link up to the system?
Most of the Z-Wave devices, they retrofit. With your switches in the house, for example, you don't need to change those switches. You're putting just on the top of the existing one and putting behind the switch. You don't need to change anything with your way to switch on off light. So the switch will be still working. But you have like a second control of this from your phone, from your laptop, from your any electronic smart device. So one of those devices right here in Jersey hands.
If you can see this blue module is actually a Z-Wave module, which is wired up with the classic GPO, and that's the method how you can.
So you're just adding to existing fitting the Z-Wave module. And giving you more access.
And I assume if you've got an iPhone app, there's various divisions in your iPhone app that do different things.
iPhone app, actually all manufacturers who is making controllers, they're providing you free of charge app. So
Okay.
As soon as you get controller, you're downloading that app and you can control those devices, including your controller itself.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think we've got a very interesting topic for our audience tonight. So I should perhaps do a time check with Peter Bacon to see how we're going, but there are other questions that we could ask. How are we tracking for time, Peter?
You're right, Rob. Keep going.
Okay. My next question would be just looking across the questions that have come in, that what sort of skill level would the DIY sort of a person need to have to approach a Z-Wave project in their house? If they're embarking on a bit of home automation for the first time and they think Z-Wave's a great way to go, then how much technical knowledge do they need to have to start that project?
There are two levels. First, any person with the IT experience can do setup, can do installations of controllers and all battery powered devices. But second level, it's more complicated, not because it's hard, but because the person needs to have an electrician license. And that's the problem, because not everyone has those licenses. Because like according to Australian law, for 240 volts devices and appliances, you have to have electric license. And that's a problem for some people here. Even myself, I have engineering degree and I had license overseas, but for the last 26 years, I had no time to get electric license. So legally, I can't do it myself.
Right, I understand. So there is a need to maintain the electrical standards for wiring changes in the house, of course.
So that's why if you have experience with your PC, I bet you'll install everything and set up in the right way. Obviously, you need to understand a bit networking, a bit internet settings and things around it, but it's not so complex. It's not rocket science.
Okay.
Do you mind if I show you, just to answer this, that may be quite useful, one slide?
Yes, go ahead.
I was kind of prepared for this question to show that you actually, here we go. If you can see, this is a slide showing how actually the whole network and remote access and cloud service actually fit into this installation. So the level of expertise is not really high if you pick one of those ready-to-go Z-Wave gateways, like for example Vera or Fibaro. If you decide to go with the do-it-yourself, it obviously requires a little bit of expertise in software and putting on the right hardware and networking and opening some ports and this kind of stuff. But it's not really difficult, but it's another level. If you pick one of those ready-to-go devices like Vera, in principle, it's a 3 steps installation. You don't need to be expert on the network. You don't need to open any ports, port forwarding, no, nothing like that. All you have to do is just to plug your Vera to your usual Wi-Fi router. And assuming that you don't have any special critical firewall set up, it will automatically create a secured SSL encrypted channel between your gateway and your secure by your username password, your free of charge Vera Cloud Server account, which allows you a secure remote access via this tunnel, an encrypted tunnel, something like VPN, let's say. And it's all created for you automatically. You don't have to do anything really, you know, just plug and play, to be honest. On the small scale of installations, I'm pretty sure that your members will be able to handle without any problem. Once you get to the level when you would like to do the whole home automation, well, let's say 50 or 100 devices and very kind of a sophisticated automation, oh, that's where the problem starts, and you need to have extra tools and extra expertise. So you can always tap on existing experienced Z-Wave installers, or you can just learn reading books. It's a good method. And talking about the books, if you would be really keen to have something to read before sleep, this is actually a book which I highly can recommend. It puts you into sleep straight away if you don't like technology, but for those technology hobbies, this is the brilliant book. Better than Agatha Christie, I can tell you.
It sounds like a very technical manual to get you off to sleep.
It's available from Amazon.
You can buy it soft copy, you can buy hard copy, so it's available out there. Z-Wave Essentials by Dr. Christian Pez, actually one of our colleagues from Europe.
So guys, you've given us some good insight into the security aspects of the Z-Wave protocol, and I guess that's pretty key to the success of Z-Wave. Is that a thing that distinguishes from, say, Zigbee? I know it's different to Wi-Fi as well. How does Zigbee and Z-Wave compare?
Okay, how to compare? For example, according to UL, it's a company who is doing certification in United States for all electric standards and security standards. Only Z-Wave has a certification there, okay? Zigbee, they're planning to, but it's not there yet. Unfortunately for Zigbee, they have currently around 16 different standards of Zigbee. So if you're buying, for example, a piece of hardware from Telstra, they've been doing like a few years ago, Zigbee plug-in switch. Not necessarily it will work with another system which based on a Zigbee, because it may be framework 1.1 and another company doing 1.8. So it's just not there. But looks like Silicon Labs, who owns Zigbee as well, they're planning in a few years make it like universal system and a framework for all those technologies. But it's only plans for now. So maybe you'll see it in the 5-10 years here.
But to add to this security flavor of your question, well, Z-Wave since the beginning had a very strong security framework. And security is based on the addressing, but also is embedded with this 128-bit AES encryption method from the day one. So all the locks, garage door openers, all these security devices, which all window openers, they must have security framework enabled for the communication. It's just a must. Otherwise, they won't be certified. And with chip 700, security is embedded in the chip. So the manufacturers, they don't really have to do anything else than just place the chip. And the security is part of the hardware implementation, right? So it's really, really secure.
Okay, thank you. You've mentioned garage doors a couple of times this evening. I think Kirsten may have had a question about that. Perhaps she's wanting to get a Z-Wave device fitted to her garage door. Are you on, Kirsten?
Yes, I was just wondering about that. How would one go about it? Thanks.
Well,
Slide.
you just like what we'll show you one slide here. Most of the garage door motors, they have special contacts for the dry contacts, which means like you'll have button on the wall, and when you press that button, garage door will go up or down. So Z-Wave garage opener using that contact to send a pulse signal. So it's on the top of the existing manual button. Z-Wave will provide you access to your Wi-Fi and then your Z-Wave controller, and you can just do it from the phone. Okay, so it's like a second layer of the control of your garage door. Yeah, that's the one, you see? So you see on the garage door motor on the top, small contacts for that manual button. And it's just on the top of the existing wiring diagram.
Okay, thanks.
Kirsten's rushing out to put her plans together. I can see that already.
We'll see it next time. For the basic setup, you need like a Vera H controller and garage door opener, nothing else.
Mm-hmm. So yes, we have it here. The module itself, all what you need from Z-Wave perspective, a part of the hub, which can be either Vera or one of your do-it-yourself.
Yeah,
right. It's just this this model. I'll switch here. So this is the Z-Wave device, which you need to wire up in parallel to your manual button on the garage door, and you'll have it operational. You can obviously add limit switches and infrared beams for safety of your door opening and closing.
The only thing I would probably put extra AP cam, just to be 100% certain that no one there when you're closing and your car is away.
I think Kirsten's got plenty of good company around her to help her get that project underway. It's a good way to go.
Maybe just one more question, Rob. If you
perhaps the final question I was going to ask was in relation to electricity usage monitoring. It's a subject close to my heart. I've been doing that as part of my home automation system, and I noticed there's a couple of questions in the chat along the same line. So are there some devices in the Z-Wave family that do the energy monitoring of the loads, the connected loads?
Mostly of all 240 volts devices, they're providing you energy monitoring.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see your consumption. Not all controllers are giving you some kind of graphical representation, but you can just, if you're doing something on a Raspberry, you can just create on your own. But unfortunately, what we noticed in the last couple of years, electric companies just trying to make life easier for everyone, and they're not charging for the consumption, they're charging for the services, and you can't escape.
This is very true. We have noticed this change.
Yeah.
So is there one device that is specifically for energy monitoring that you would put on the whole of your power circuits at your switchboard? Or
called smart meter, but unfortunately it's not for retail. Mostly company buying in bulk, like 100 or 150 devices for some projects.
Okay, all right.
So first, it's people don't like change smart meters if there is already one, right? For the new house it's possible, but not for the existing one, because it's related to electrician, that's related to energy company and electrical authorities. So it's a quite complex thing to change.
But to add to this, Robert, this behind me, not sure if you can see this with this blue light. This the white panel. This is actually Comfort Click. This is the professional range of smart home gateways. It operates on Z-Wave, but also on KNX and Modbus and BACnet and IP, you name it, everything. It's all in one. And this one actually allows you to see not only your consumption, but also control the electricity production on your solar panel, and also electricity storage in your home batteries. And depending on your algorithm of using, you can push your electricity to different devices while the production is high and you have high batteries. So for example, you don't have to wait for the end of the day to start cooling your house summer when you have full battery and free energy from solars to start cooling your house. So you just walk in the cool house, or cleaning your, for example, swimming pool, or heating your swimming pool, or for example, charging your electric bike or car when you have a free energy. And this is the system, but this is not do it yourself. It's not do it yourself. Yeah. It's like a fully grown professional system, but it's still available.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good project for those that are interested in that area, and I'm sure there's growing numbers of people that are interested in that. Guys, Miroslav and Jerzy, I think we've had a really interesting presentation, and I think it's generated a lot of interest amongst the 90 odd people that have attended today. So we thank you very much for the time and the detailed information that you've provided. It's been really good. So many thanks for your contribution tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Jerzy and Miroslav, thanks very much for that. Look, I have to tell you, I'm afraid I've got a television set with some black box and a DVD player. My wife decided recently that she'd clean at the back of the television, and all she could get was Elvis Presley on the television, which must have been an Elvis Presley DVD in the player. And she wasn't too happy for 3 hours of Elvis Presley. Sadly, it was all too much for me. I had to get my daughter over to sort out, because we had 3 remotes. I didn't have a clue which one to use. I'd be terrified to have one of your systems in the house, because instead of opening the garage door, I'd put the kettle on, and instead of flushing the toilet, I'd have a shower, and but I think it's the modern way of the future. And look, I'm sure my grandchildren, when they're my age, will probably have a house that's fully automated. At my age, I think I'll stick with just turning the switch on when I want something to work. But look, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. Normally, if this was a live meeting, at the start of late last year, I bought a dozen bottles of Grange Hermitage. I must admit it was 2019's vintage, but sadly, by the time I get to you next year, it'll be 2 years out of date, and I couldn't possibly give you a 2-year-old bottle of wine. So I think I'll drink it, and just thank you all the very best for a very interesting talk. I've learnt a lot, and I appreciated what you said. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're just about to go for a break, but I just wish to tell you a small story. A minister told his congregation on Sunday, "Next week I plan to preach about the sin of lying. And to help you understand my sermon, I want you all to read Mark 17. The following Sunday, as he prepared to deliver his sermon, the minister asked for a show of hands. He wanted to know how many had read Mark 17. Every hand went up. The minister smiled and said, Mark has only 16 chapters. I will now proceed with my sermon on the sin of lying. Oh, I can't even read that. So now it is 8:19, so we'll have a 5-minute break to say 8:25, and then we'll come back with maybe 2 presidents, either George or Mr. Biden or David Stonia Gibson. So I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Okay, my report for, where are we? November, month of November. A few things here that I've got to report on. I'm just going to move that so I can steer down the barrel a little more effectively. first thing, one significant thing, we've had a couple of changes on the committee. Kirsten, who's ably organizing these meetings, has resigned from the committee, but is definitely going to continue doing the meetings. So we're grateful for that. And Avon has retired from the committee as well. But we've replaced them with Peter Boyne and Aidan Kelly. Peter is they're both young men. Peter is an IT specialist, a programmer. He's actually the guy who wrote a lot of the software, or all the software, for the QR code. And Aidan Kelly has been very, very helpful and contributed a lot so far to rejigging the club rooms, and he'll be contributing quite a bit more to that as time goes on. So very committed, engaged young gentleman with a lovely Irish accent. The work on G Suite, which is now a Google, typical IT or computer company activity behavior. G Suite no longer is G Suite. G Suite is now Google Workspace, just to make sure you're alert to that. The transition is going slowly but steadily. There have been a few more challenges than were foreseen with the variation from email system to email system. So that's sort of thrown a few curveballs. But what's very encouraging is that the member responses overall have been very positive and encouraging and excellent. So, and well done, to good work to the team who are doing that work. The other day, a small group of people, I think 2 or 3 people, led by Steve Zulaga, our vice president, were able to go into the club rooms for the first time in months, and started on the rejigging of the lounge area, which is going to have the window, the wall removed, so there's light coming in from the atrium. And so as a preliminary step for that, the electrics have been removed out of that wall. So it's now ready for the main transformation. And we're hoping now soon we'll be able to get back in on a more regular basis and start really getting tucked into that work. The other thing that's will be happening in the club rooms, is that the museum is being built. I mentioned that before. Bill Sakel is taking care of that. He's being assisted by Sean Clark and others. And our one little win for that is we've been pledged a Microvax computer from Digital Equipment Corporation, which is sort of one of the classic mini computers of the 80s, I believe the 80s and the 90s. That will be an addition to our working digital PDP-8 simulator called a PDP-8 that we have. Now, the other thing is something we've been working towards for quite a while, and it's proven to be also fairly challenging, particularly, well, it's caused by the lockdown, but difficult in the lockdown. We're working on nearly at the point now where we can say that all Zoom meetings, or I should probably say all SIG meetings run on Zoom, will have URLs or links known well in advance. And then we will, once we have that, and it's, I think, days away, we'll have a situation where we can pre-publicize all the SIG meetings well in advance in a systematic fashion. And that's going to open up those SIG meetings to all members. So it's something I've been going on for a while about. It's finally coming to fruition. So real soon now, you'll be able to live in Mornington and attend a Heidelberg SIG meeting and vice versa, if you so desire. So that should help to increase the amount of interaction between members who are geographically separated from each other. Leading into that, and one of the consequences of this whole lockdown thing is that I'm pretty sure that meetings are going to be held online for a long time. And I think that even when we go back to physical meetings, which hopefully will be fairly early next year, we'll be able to do that. There'll be a lot of people who are still going to enjoy, if we can make it happen, attending meetings remotely. I mean, again, the same people in Mornington might still like to attend the meeting up in Heidelberg because it's about something that interests them. And, you know, all over. So we've got people spread over the whole metropolitan area, don't we? So one of the things I'm hoping we're going to be able to do is come up with a method whereby we can have what I'm calling hybrid meetings, which are both in the flesh and online. So, and I'm open to, and I invite you to come up with suggestions for technical solutions to achieving that. Something that would be simple, inexpensive to replicate across the SIGs and not require a whole team of people to operate it. So we can't have camera dollies and microphone operators with booms and things. It's got to be something simple and something cheap that will allow people to remotely attend physical meetings. So I'm just sort of throwing that out there to all 88 of you who are online at the moment to come up with any ideas. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. And it's over to him.
Thank you very much, David. It's good to see that we can move around in the club rooms and get a bit of work done there, and well done to the team. So now, just to let us know what's new going on in the world, I'll pass you over to George Scarbeck to tell us what's new in the technological world. George.
Well, hi folks. All of the things here are relatively new. Quite recently, New Zealand's largest solar array is now afloat. The largest solar array also happens to be a floating solar array. There are more and more solar panels, like in arrays, on lakes. It's got a couple of advantages. Doesn't take up valuable farmland, and minute sort of side effect, it stops a little bit of evaporation. The New Zealand system, it's a 1 megawatt array, generate about 1,500 megawatt hours per annum, which is over a quarter of the sewage treatment, because it's floating on the treated wastewater pond. So, you know, that's a good place to for solar panels. No one else will want to go there. Now in Newcastle, the doctorates at the university have won a big job in creating job opportunities in becoming home to the energy renaissance, Australia's first advanced lithium-ion manufacturing plant. This will be their flagship and wants to ramp up production to 5.3 gigawatt hours per annum. That's an awful lot of energy, and it'll also produce the batteries not only for Australia, but I think of exporting to the Asian market for years to come. It'll be big, 4,000 square metre, purpose-built, and the construction will start in the middle of next year. Quite a boost for Newcastle. Now, I'll mention about a couple of world records. The first one is about a bird. A smallish bird flew just over 12,000 kilometres, set a new world record for the longest non-stop bird migration. It's a male, it's called a bar-tailed goodwit. It's sort of a wading bird, about 30 centimetres high, but it flew right across the length of the Pacific Ocean without stopping. It was equipped with a tiny satellite tag, which certainly would have been a burden for it, but it reached up to 90 kilometres an hour with a tailwind and flew non-stop for 11 days, probably without sleeping. Scientists are still not sure that the birds who fly such long distances, do they ever sleep or do they just sleep and fly? It started in Alaska, flew over the Aleutian Islands and headed south to a warm winter in New Zealand. So it goes from top to bottom across the globe. It flew along Asia's east coast through Russia and before completing the trip. That bird is about 35 to 40 centimetres and weighs up to about 400 grams. So it's not a big bird, very aerodynamic. And on the way back, it'll fly along Asia, Russia, and then back to Alaska. Now the few world records. I know there's a few car enthusiasts, but there's a new world record, official two-way run, which actually hit 532 kilometres an hour on the return leg, which is phenomenal. It's way over a third of the speed of sound. And it's the Tara. It's a name I haven't heard of. It's a small American company. But this is for production cars. They have to be road legal, able to be bought by customers, run on a public road. The police sealed off a fair bit of the freeway for them. It has to run street tyres and non-race fuel. And to have a world record sanction, it has to run 2 runs in the opposite direction to cut out wind and so on. Now, some of you may have read that the Big Sharon went just over 500 kilometres an hour, but it only did that one way, didn't do it both ways. Actually, it set 3 world records: a faster average speed of 509 kilometres an hour. But 2 days ago, there were challenges made to it. The timing was done by a specialised GPS, which is accurate to I think either 1/10 or 100 kilometres an hour, because it locks up not only on the GPS American system, but GLONASS, the Russian satellite system, Bando, the Chinese, and of course Galileo, the European. So with all those satellites, you can get a very, very accurate reading. But there seems to be some doubt, although it was given the official world record, the people from the very specialised GPS metering company who made that weren't there to verify their logs that were sent to them. So we'll see what happens. So even if it didn't quite make it, you know, if you're habitually running late to get your grandkids to school, even if it only goes to around 500 kilometres an hour, it should save you a bit of time. However, it might cost some speeding fines. Now for another record. This is for the minimum electricity demand has been recorded as an uptake of solar and wind systems. The Australian Energy Market Operator has reported a record low demand across the market. And between midday and 1 p.m. on October the 11th, solar-powered, entirely fueled South Australia's electricity needs. It's a first of Australia and the first for any major city globally. No mean achievements. You go back, 10 years, solar panels are very expensive and very few had them. Now, the whole state including a city with, sure, the population of Adelaide are probably getting up to 2.5, 3 million, plus the rest of the state running entirely on renewable energy. So there you have it, folks. That's my what's new. About 4 world records and solar panels floating on treated shit. So over to you, Peter.
Thanks very much, George. Very interesting. Just before I hand over to our iHelp team, just the speakers tonight came courtesy, I think, of Rob Brown. If any of you have any sort of people that you know that might like to come and speak to us in a similar vein that would be of interest to members, please let, well, probably Kirsten know, and probably as a little bonus, we could even ask you to sort of moderate the topic as Rob did tonight, but that's just a you know, hopeful request from Kirsten.
Well done, Rob.
She's always
Well
looking
done.
for speakers. So now we have Mike Allison here from the iHelp team. I hope he's got a big list of emails of people with their questions that he's going to solve for us. So over to you, Mike, with all your knowledge.
Hello. I don't seem to be coming up. I've got
You're very quiet there, Mike.
on speaker view, but for some reason you're not hearing me. I've unmuted.
You're very faint.
That is very odd indeed.
Would you like me to contact iHelp to see if they could fix your problem?
You're probably on a different microphone.
Yes, indeed, but that's the same setting I had last time. Goodness.
Mike, I have that trouble. Next to your mute button, there's a little arrow. If you click on that, it brings up a lot of things that you can, I have this trouble every month apparently, and you can select a microphone and select a speaker.
How about that now? Is it better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, it had switched to the alternative, which I only use for iHelp. I wouldn't use it for this. It's a headset, quite hideous to see. Even worse than my own head. Now, regarding questions, I don't have any questions at all, but I'm happy to talk to a couple of topics while something pops up. Just having a quick look here at the chat to see whether there are any questions yet. Not yet, not yet. So I will talk to a couple of things which are dear to my heart and which also are quite big issues for iHelp. The first one concerns passwords. We probably have more questions about passwords than any other thing. And obviously your passwords are terribly important from a security point of view and from the point of view of being able to access the various sites that you visit. Now, the ideal thing, of course, is to have your passwords recorded. But the advice is don't write your password down. Somebody might see it and steal it from you, which is quite right. So there's a bit of a dilemma there, isn't there? How are we going to record our passwords and keep them secure? Well, the answer is that if you use Word or Excel to make yourself a list of usernames and passwords, you can save that file with password protected. So you only got to remember one password. If you can't remember that, well, you're in real trouble. But that's what I do. I've got 19 A4 pages of passwords and usernames. No way can I remember that lot. Absolutely no way.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yeah.
Well, I had my hand up for a while. I agree entirely with you. I've been doing the same, although some members said that it can be cracked. My password on my PC can be cracked. And I save it on a USB. And then I take the USB and I have a secure, newer type of file, secure box which guarantees media, media products as well as paper and documents, and I keep it there. And I also gave a USB stick to my son. What to keep it in case something happens to me, he has to get into my computer. But also additional safeguard, some of my passwords are historical events, which I have a code word for it. Even if they crack my list of password, they have to recognize what I'm talking about. And also I use a foreign language too, which I'm acquainted with.
So it's a double encryption method. Brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, well, that I do. But yeah. I have another question, Mike, apart from the password, which if there are no more comments on password list.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I spent the best part today sorting out my printer scanner, and I can report, fortunately, it's working now. What the issue was, blow if I know, but I have went through all the tests and all the diagnosis and all that, updated the firmware, downloaded the software twice. The first time it didn't download properly, the second it wouldn't scan, the second time it will scan, but it will not print properly. And then finally, just during this meeting, I twigged on some setting, and I changed that, and it's working now. But what has started this was the fact that suddenly one of the colors didn't print, and it was the black one. It just stopped printing it. It didn't say what and how. And it's a cartridge which is about 80% full. So the usual thing I do is I open the cover, just remove the cartridge and reload it. Still didn't work. So I said there could be a blockage in the cartridge. So I had a spare cartridge, brand new, genuine, and put it in. It worked. But in the meantime, of course, something else happened. So I had to go all through that and fix it. And finally, I just thought to myself, well, was it the cartridge that caused the thing? So I pulled out the new one that I just loaded and put back the old one. And of course, the HP, it's an HP printer, he says, oh, you're putting back a used one. Is that right? A genuine used one? I said, yes. They accepted it. I don't know how they recognize the refilled one and the genuine one that is used. But anyway, well, they are smarter than I am, or perhaps all of you. And it works. And it fixed up. Yeah. So the question is, anybody had similar experience?
Well, I know that a lot of people have had trouble with particularly Epson, and you've mentioned HP, where they detect a non-genuine cartridge, and it will just spit the dummy and won't print. Most annoying. I wonder whether that's actually restraint of trade. don't know whether that is the case, but it seems to me it's an extraordinary invasion of privacy to say, because you bought a generic cartridge instead of the manufacturer's cartridge, well, we're not going to print for you and we're going to give you all sorts of strife. But it's not uncommon for that to happen.
Well, I've been, because I don't print that much,
yeah.
A set of cartridges lasts me 12 months.
Mm.
And of course, I buy the genuine one from a discounter. It's called Cartridge Warehouse. I think the owner gave a talk to MelbPC once, and I still buy it from him. And he's in Greensboro or somewhere there. And all I have to do is online or ring him up, and it's delivered, and it's a genuine one.
Mm.
And but the trouble is that the warranty is only for 12 months, and you should have a spare set of cartridges. And of course, I don't use the spare one in 12 months.
Mm.
Well, I use more the scanning aspects of things and
Yes.
all the rest of it. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
And another issue that I have with printers is their life is not that long.
Hmm.
It's
mechanically, you mean, Tom?
Hmm?
Mechanically, Tom?
Mechanical, and what they only warranty for 12 months, unless you pay the extra to places like Office Works and whatever, and you can buy, of course, printers for $50 or less, special. Well, the one that I bought is a HP Pro, which I paid about $200. I didn't mind paying that much, provided I had something that works all the time. It worked beautifully for the first year, and then in the second year, it started to have a few glitches. But now that I've upgraded the software with some trouble, and the firmware, so far, all the tests that I have done, it seems to be working. So we'll see. It's in this second year plus, so we'll see whether it would last 4 years. Well,
okay, Tom, Mike might have a few more other things he wants to say, so we'll just hand it back to Mike.
Yes.
Okay, I noticed a few people have posted that there are software packages for passwords. That's quite correct. And I'm just a tightwad, and so I'll use what I've already got. Another topic that I'd like to speak to is the question of data backup. It still is a reality that your hard disk can crash. And if your hard disk crashes, you've lost the lot. Now, I know a few people who've got really precious stuff on their computers, apart from all their private stuff, their financial records, etc. Masses and masses of photos. In fact, one of my cousins, who's also a member, has some 80 gigs of photos, family photos, prize-winning photos, absolutely precious. Now, luckily, he does back it up, but manually. And the trouble with backing up manually is that you can forget which ones you've added or changed, and you may forget to back it off to your external drive. What I'd recommend to people is to use RoboCopy, which is a utility that comes with Windows 10. It does unfortunately require some code, but the code is relatively simple. If you can imagine a string, which is the path and the file, folder that you want to copy from and the one you copy to, they're the only ones you really have to do yourself. The rest you can copy from stuff on the internet. And the beauty of RoboCopy is that it looks at your files and says, ah, that one there is newer than the one on your backup. Therefore, I'm going to overwrite the one on the backup. If they're the same, it just skips. And you can see the word same scrolling up the screen at very rapid pace. Takes a while, of course, to set it up initially because everything does have to be copied. But the beauty of it is it won't miss a change. It won't miss an update, and guarantees that you'll have a good backup record of your data every day, or however often you choose to do it. I do it daily. And the purists would say, well, that's fine, but it's not enough. You really should have an off-site backup as well, which means you've got to buy 2 external drives. I store my other drive at my older son's father-in-law's house, which is not terribly far from where I live. So if my house burns down tonight, and if I escape from the house, I've got that backup drive that I can rely upon to get started again. So it is terribly important, backup. And if you don't have backup, you are always at risk of losing your data. You can replace all the apps, you can replace the operating system, you can replace the computer. You can't replace your data. That's something that you created and nobody else. I don't see any comments on backup, but it is a serious business, and I know that not everybody is doing it, and they should. Now, one other topic which I'd like to bring up, and this arose actually as a bit of a surprise to me. I was having a conversation with Harry Lewis about searching your emails. If you've got a lot of emails, as most of us do have, and you want to search for something which you know you had a conversation with somebody a while back, sometimes you don't get a very good result. Now, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I noticed that the search bar in Outlook 365 had vanished. Where the heck's it gone? And it took me a while to see that it actually moved to the top of the screen. So I used it, and it seemed to work exactly the same as before. But in talking to Harry, I was making the comment that I really wish there was a Boolean search, because sometimes when you're searching, you get a lot of replies, and you've still got to wade through heaps of them. And I've been through a lot of trauma recently, exchanging emails with a relative in the UK about a particular topic. And I thought, oh, gee, let's just give it a try. So I typed in my sister's name, which is Jill, and I typed in premium because we were talking about premium bonds, which they have in the UK. Wow, back it came, just 2 emails that contained both of those words, and they were both highlighted. So you can do a Boolean search very, very simply in Outlook 365. The interesting thing is you can also do it for tasks. I don't know how many people use tasks, but to me, tasks is absolutely essential in Outlook. I could not live without it. It reminds me when I've got to send people birthday cards. It reminds me when I've got to do a job of work. It reminds me when I owe people some information, etc., etc. And you can do a Boolean search in tasks as well. Now that's a huge advantage, and I'm surprised that Microsoft hasn't made more of it. I'm going to be faced with a decision very soon to buy Microsoft 365 Personal, which is the lowest one in the range, because with the move to Gmail, very soon my Pro Plus subscription will expire, and then nothing will work. So I've got to have that in place before that happens. Well, I'm well and truly convinced that I do need Outlook 365. Any other questions? I haven't seen. Yep. Yes, Tom.
Yes. Just on that one, email, I still use Thunderbird. I just wondered whether anybody who uses Thunderbird can throw some light in saving for Thunderbird. Well, I have a couple of methods of doing it, but it's rather cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted. And anybody still using Thunderbird? I use Thunderbird, and also Thunderbird has a search function, but I only use it for searching names of senders or where to send it to, and it works beautifully. And also the subject matter, any particular word. But I think what you referred to is content, which is much more sophisticated. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, that's correct. Yes. Yeah, that makes it much more powerful. Yeah. Now, I'll have to confess that I'm not too hot on Thunderbird, but our SIG leader, Dave Simpson, is red hot on Thunderbird. So I will undertake the task of speaking to him about that and seeing what can be done. So you'd like some information on search? Searching Thunderbird? Yeah.
Yes.
And the other question had to do with
the backup of Thunderbird.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll get that information and pass it on to you.
Well, look, I have a method which I saved a Thunderbird in my document, and then I saved my document.
Yeah.
But I never tried to do the reverse.
Right. Yeah, well, certainly in Outlook, you could back stuff off to a PSD file, and then you can restore from a PSD. I assume there would be something similar with Thunderbird, but I'll get that information for you.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
I could,
oh yeah, Rob Brown saying you just need to take a copy of your default folder. Yeah. Okay.
If I might butt in there, I use Thunderbird with POP3, so that means all the files are actually sitting in my computer. But when I go traveling, I take a laptop, and the only way I have then of taking my email facility with me is to basically back up Thunderbird desktop folder into the equivalent one in the laptop over my LAN, and take the whole shebang with me off to, well, I won't be going anywhere for the next few months, of course, but when I do go, wherever I go. And then when I get home, I do the reverse. In fact, I've done that just for going into the club for a day. I'll back up to my, between the laptop and the desktop. And right at the note, thanks for the reminder about backups there before, Mike. I've just, while you've been talking, run a backup to one of my removable hard drives. The search thing, Tom, in Thunderbird, the sort of just when you're in one particular email folder and search for something, is a load of rubbish, to put it politely. It misses a lot of stuff. And I'm not sure if that's the one you're talking about, or there is another one where you can right click on a folder and then you get this quite elaborate search window. And that seems to be fairly good. And that is a full Boolean search. You can say subject includes the words or doesn't include the words, or content contains the following words or doesn't contain words, and so on. So you can set up fairly tight filters, but it's a little elaborate to use. But I do find in general it can be very hard to find that particular email you're after from 3 years ago, when you were discussing carousels at the Tivoli Park in Copenhagen. It's really hard. What's your other language, Tom, out of curiosity?
My second language that I can speak is French.
French, oh, okay, right. Mine's even more obscure. I'm Norwegian, so not too many people can read my password clues in Norwegian and know my history as well. That's pretty much what I do.
My method is my wife's an ex-nurse and she writes things. She can't even read it, so I don't know any of that. Folks, it's 9 o'clock, just after 9, which is the finishing time. I gather Kirsten will probably delete the record button. But my understanding is that the meeting is, although officially closing, that it's still there available if anyone wishes to chat amongst themselves, or I'm not sure whether Mike's prepared to sit there for a while and answer any other questions. But
I'll sit here until my head droops.
Well, good night, everyone. We have a meeting in December. I'm not sure of the date, but it's obviously the first Wednesday. Thank you to all our speakers have gone, but thanks to Rob, David, the President, George, What's New Man, and Mike for your help. And also, Mike, I think probably thank you. You're probably one of the people at the end of the telephone. I'm not sure whether I've spoken to you, but it would have been a dumb question, so you'd probably remember me.
No such thing, Peter. Only dumb answers.
So good night, everyone, and we'll see you all next month.
And thank you, Peter, for running the show. And just one question, Peter, that Grange, is that in that back cupboard in the office?